Now, when we're managing lots of data, how we present that data can be very important so we can help understand it. Now, today we're going to have a look at just one method that we can do that, known as the frequency table. So, let's begin. Now, to help us through understanding how we create a frequency table, I've got some statistics from the NBA. More specifically, I've got Steph Curry's scoring between February and March of the 2016 season. Now, as you can see here, how the stats is currently displayed is very messy and it's really hard to make any sort of interpretation from that data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to organise this data into what's known as a frequency table. Now, what a frequency table does is it groups together data values within a certain range. Now, that's useful to do if the range of data that you've got is stretching over a certain amount, let's say 10 or so. Now, when we're creating a frequency table, there's some things that we need to keep in mind. The first thing that we need to decide is what kind of range are we going to use? And that range has to stay consistent with each step. Now, while there's no set hard rule, we tend to stay with increments that are easy for us to understand. For example, we might go up by 2s or by 5s or by 10s or by hundreds, but something that's very easy to follow and understand. Now, to decide how much you should go up by, you need to look at the data itself. Now, I've noticed that I've got some data points that are over 50, and the smallest data points are around that 10 to 15 sort of range. So I've decided to increment my data by 5 at a time, as you can see in this area just here. So with that in mind, I'd like you to quickly pause the video now and see if you can actually fill in this frequency table for yourself, and then we'll go through it together. Now, how do you think you went? Well, let's have a look. Now, when we're completing a frequency table, we've got this frequency column here. In this column throughout, I'm going to list down how often a data value falls between each of these ranges. So, to do that, what I need to do is have a look at the first range, which is the score between 0 and 4. And I look at my data set and I go, is there any that fall between 0 and 4? In this case, there isn't any, so I put a 0 here to indicate that nothing fell in that range. The next one's 5 to 9. Now, once again, there's none between 5 and 9, so I put another 0 here. So we go to the next one. Scores between 10 and 14. Well, I've got one here and I've got one here. So there's 2 of them, so it occurs twice, so I put 2 down. And I continue to do this right throughout. And I put little ticks here to help make sure that I don't miss any. But I'm going to fast forward this little bit until I've completed the table. So now I've completed my frequency table. Now what I can do is look at the frequency table and see some things I might not necessarily been able to see as easily before. For example, the first thing I've noticed is Steph Curry has a lot of his games where he scores between 25 and 34 points. The second thing I can easily see is he doesn't actually have any games where he scored less than 10 points. And finally, I can also see that he nearly has, not quite, but nearly has as many games scoring 40 or more as he does have scoring 24 or less. So as you can see, a frequency table makes this data here that wasn't quite as easy and clear to read, much easier to read and draw some information out of. So now, I'd like you to have a go. Frequently in the NBA, the scoring of LeBron James and Stephen Curry are compared to each other. In the table below are the scores that LeBron James made in the NBA during the same months as what we analysed before. I want you to create a frequency table of LeBron James's scoring during these 2 months and then compare that frequency table to the table that we did for Steph Curry. When we compare the two, what can you say about the scoring output from these two players?